Hello everyone and welcome back to City Skylines 2. For those who are new to the channel, my name is Chris Phoenix and this is Phoenix Creates. I love making things, my own little digital playgrounds, whether it's building a virtual theme park in Planet Coaster or Roller Coaster Tycoon, zoos and such in games like Planet Zoo and the Jurassic World games, or, like today, building my own landscapes and cities in City Skylines. I've always enjoyed the City Skylines series, but historically they never really took off on the channel here. I'm hoping that changes though, as I really want to share my joy of the game series and the little worlds that I spend so much time working on. City Skylines 2 had a rocky launch, to say the least. It still hasn't really recovered, to be honest. The new DLC, Beach Properties, is, well, not great. It was delayed continuously and feels rushed out the door to just try to appease the fans who purchased the deluxe game or the expansion pass, like myself. I wasn't given the game for free or early access. I paid for it with my own money, so these are my actual feelings about the game. No matter what, I am always honest about my thoughts on games. Always have been, I always will be. That being said, I still love CS2. I think it has a ton of potential. That, though it didn't live up to at launch, I think it will eventually get there. I trust that Colossal Order will fix all the issues and make City Skylines 2 everything it can be and a worthy successor to the first game. I think it's just going to take time. One thing though that they did just do was the newest patch for the game, which brought in mods officially. Now, it's not perfect by any means. I would still rather have the Steam Workshop. It's a definite help in the game though to be able to create things that I want to, like my own maps for one. That's what we're going to start doing today, making my own map that I will eventually release for everyone, and also use it in building my own little county and city in the game. This is actually going to be a multi-episode series of videos though, as there are lots of things involved in making a map, and I want to do it right. But to be honest, I kind of have no real clue what I'm doing, so this will be not so much a tutorial series as much as it is a learning experience in making a map that you guys can follow along with, and maybe it will help you through the things that I do right and the mistakes that I make along the way. So, without further ado, let's get started. So the map editor is still pretty new to City Skylines 2. We only just got the patch about a week ago. And so there's not a lot of videos out there just yet on how to make your own map. But one that seems to be at the top of YouTube's algorithm is Tim Meister's. So I'm going to be using his information and tutorial as kind of a base for what I'm doing. A foundation to get us started. For my map, I'm not going to start from scratch. Instead, I'm going to grab a height map from a location that I find interesting. The first spot I looked at that I thought would be fun to build with is the Smoky Mountains. Seaver County, the area around Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. I love taking trips down that way. It's one of my favorite vacation spots, so I thought I'd try making a map here first. After I imported the height map though, I just wasn't feeling it. I might come back and do something with this later on though, but for now, it's just not the location we're going to use. Instead, another spot came to mind, a place where I grew up most of my life here in Kentucky. It's a little area here called Cave Run Lake, right about central Kentucky. I kind of want to build a city near a large lake, instead of like a coastal town or something like that, and I thought this area would be perfect for that. It's an area that I know well, and I can kind of work with this. I've also already imported this area into the map editor, and I was really surprised about how it looks in game. It's a fairly decent sized lake. It's got a dam on its northeast side up here. Lots of usable land for the most part, and it just inspired me. So we're going to use this area for our map. So now that I have an idea of the area that I want to make my map of, the next thing to do is we're going to need an image that we can import into the map editor. So like I said earlier, we're going to use Tim Meister's video on map editing as a starting point and just kind of jump off from there. I would highly recommend going and watching his video. He's got some great information in that, and we're just gonna kind of follow along with that. So the website that I'm using right now to get our height map from is a website called terraining.ateliermonta.com. I'm probably butchering the actual URL, but I will put that in the video's description so you guys can just click on this. But in order to use this particular website and get our images for it, we are going to need an access token, which we will get from mapbox.com. Now this next part is probably where I'm going to lose some of you guys at, because in order to use mapbox.com, you have to create an account, which is completely free. But when you are making your account, it is going to ask for a credit card. And I can't stress this enough. You will not be charged. It is a free account. The only reason you're putting your information, your credit card info in there is There are certain things that you will have to pay for on this website, so that's one reason why you have to put in credit card information. But for what we're going to be doing with it, you're not going to be charged. And like I said, this is probably going to scare a lot of you off, but I, for one, had no problem putting my information in there and creating an account here to use this. So it's completely up to you. There are other ways to get your terrain maps and stuff into the game, and I don't know specifically what those ways are, though. I believe you still can probably do it the same way that you did in City Skylines 1. It's been a while since I actually like messed with that, though. I don't even know if that website's still available. I believe it is, though. But the first video that I saw on how to do this was Tin Meister's. This is how he explained doing it. I did it his way. I found it extremely easy. And again, I personally didn't have a problem with just putting my credit card info into this website. It's a very professional website. I've had my account with Mapbox now for about a week. I've not seen any fraudulent charges. I've not been charged for anything by Mapbox, so I'm completely fine with using this. Now, once you already have your Mapbox account set up, you're going to go into your account settings, and what you want to do is you want to create a token right here. Next, you'll be taken to a screen like this where it's going to ask for a token name. You can put anything you want in there. You can put like CS for City Skylines. You can put Skylines. Anything you want, you just type it in there, and that's just going to be the name of your token that will be on your account settings page. The rest of the stuff you do not have to worry about. Don't change any of the other information, but down here under URLs, right there where it says URL right here in this box, you want to put in the terraining.atulernanta.com website, where we actually are getting our hype map from. Once you have that, click add URL and then create token. Now, I'm not going to create another token because I already have one for that website and I don't need another one. So, but that's the process that you would go through. Now, next we would come back over here to the terraining website, and up here on the top right, you should see a gear. That's your settings. So you're just going to click in here. You're going to make sure that your hype map type is set to CS2. Don't touch any of the other stuff, but right here where it says access token, you would just paste in your token from Mapbox into that right there, and then hit close. Now you should have a grid right here where you want your map to be. Just make sure you got it all placed down. So as you can see here, these are going to be the different tiles. So everything around here is going to be the unusable space, and all of this is the usable space inside of City Skylines 2. The only reason this would exist is if you want to go ahead and use like the, say, the 529 tile mod or something like that, then you would probably have access to the rest of this. But this is going to be our main usable space and buildable for most people with the game right here. So once you have your grid placed exactly where you want your map and everything to be here that you're going to be working in, the next thing you do is come up here, and we're looking for the second one over that says PNG right there. So you just tap that, and then after a few minutes, it's going to download our hype map and our world map images. Now, here's a quick tip for you guys. If you are using Firefox and you're trying this, for some odd reason, it doesn't seem to want to work. I'm an avid Firefox person. I prefer to use Firefox over Google Chrome because Chrome just uses too many resources, but sometimes there are just things that just don't work right in Firefox and you just need Chrome for it. This is one of those things. I haven't tried this in Internet Explorer or any other browser out there, but it worked fine for me in Chrome, so I just would suggest using Chrome. So after about approximately a minute, it's going to download those two images for you, and you're going to see those in your downloads up here, and that's going to put that wherever, of course, you have your save file set to. So now you should have two images located in your save file folders. One of them will be hype map followed by a bunch of numbers. The other one will be world map followed by those same numbers. Now, you can rename these if you want. That's not going to hurt anything. I'm going to call this one HM, standing for hype map, and then dash, and then I will call it the name of the area, so Cave Run. The other one, I will do WM for world map, and then dash and Cave Run. So I'm going to keep the file structure very similar there, as you can see. And then we want to take both of these image files right here. We want to move them over into a hype maps folder within your save data for City Skylines 2. That folder is going to be located on your computer. It's going to be your main drive, followed by users, and then your username, app data, local low, colossal order, City Skylines 2, and then you might have a folder here called hype maps. You might not. If you don't see a folder in the City Skylines 2 folder here called hype maps, you can just go ahead, right click on and create a new folder and call it Height Maps. I don't know if the capital H in that matters or not, but I would just go ahead and give it a capital H at the beginning there. So then just throw your 2 image files into this folder right here. There you can see I have a bunch of other ones I've been toying around with. And then we just have the world map cave run and height map cave run right there. Once you have the files in the folder, the next thing to do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna open up our game. Once you're on the City Skylines 2 menu, we're going to go into Editor and let that load. Now we're going to go down here. We're going to choose the shovel for Modify Terrain. That's going to bring up this menu over here. And you should see a button here that says Import Height Map. So if you put your images into the correct folder, you're going to see them over here. Here you can see I have all the other images that I've been working with before. And then our 2 new ones, HM Cave Run and WM Cave Run. So for this one, we're importing a height map. So we want the HM-Cave Run or whichever height map you named it to. So I'm going to choose that one. Come down here, click load, and we're a little zoomed in, so I'm not seeing any changes. However, if we zoom out, we can now see we have the height map here. Now, currently, it doesn't look like much, but zooming back in, we can actually see by moving our mouse around here to the edges, we can see that we have the hills and the mountains that are in our area. You can see the impression kind of at an angle here. This is where our actual lake is going to be. But without the water, it doesn't really look all that great. So we're going to add the water in a minute. But the next thing I'm going to do here is you can see on the outside edges that we have all of this like blue sky line kind of blank space out in there. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and import the world map as well. So I'm going to choose wm.caverun. We're going to come down here. I'm going to hit load. And there we go. And that puts in the rest of the terrain. So again, as I was saying earlier, if we were using the 529 tile mod, then all of this would be buildable. I don't think I'm going to do that in my games, not yet anyway, maybe much later on down the road, but for now I'm going to stick with what we just normally get for our tiles. Another thing you'll notice after I imported the world map is just how much more in-depth the terrain actually kind of looks now. You can kind of see much better where our lakes and our rivers and stuff are going to be there. I think it just has to do with when we load in the world map, it just brings the shadows more in depth, and that's why we're able to see it a little better. Now, the first thing you probably want to do inside of the map editor is get acquainted with your tools and where everything is located. So up here on the top left is your workspace. This is where you can choose between different things such as your map, which is going to give map settings over here. You can change the name, starting year, the theme of everything over here, and that's some pretty good options. We'll get into those in a little bit. We have climate. This is where we can actually like change the actual climate of everything. I've got this set to default continental. We're going to leave that as it is. The next one down on the list over here is water. Obviously, this is where we set up our water levels, and we have different settings over here for that. This is something we're going to get into in a minute. Another thing you'll notice is when we have the water tab open right here, we can actually see the contour lines around everything. Makes it a lot easier to see how tall the terrain is and work with that. And the last one down here is resources. On the right hand side, when we click that, you'll see your painting options for all your different resources like ore, fertile land, groundwater. All of that can be done here. On the bottom left hand side of the screen is your clock and time movements. It'll show you your current weather. You can like push your game speed up if you need to. This is going to come in handy shortly. Also on the same line down here, we have where we can actually set your time of day, your time of year if you're doing different seasons, and your cloudiness right here. I've got the cloudiness turned all the way down, and time of year set to, it's probably summer, it's the middle of the year, and kind of around the middle of the day here as well. Setting those and then hitting play is going to change how your map actually looks as far as the skyline. The buttons right above that, you have your asset importer, which doesn't work currently. There's not a whole lot you can do with that. That's going to be something they're going to add in later. The modify terrain, which we've already used to import our maps. The add object button. So if we want to, we can click this and then go through here. This is very much like the dev tools where we can choose buildings, props, foliage, all that, and just place those down around the map where we choose. Next to that is edit prefab. Don't know if we can even use that or not. Possibly. Might just look into that later on because it's not something I'm going to be using today right now anyway. Next to that is the bulldoze tool. Does pretty much the same thing it does in the other City Skylines games. You can just bulldoze things that you build. And then I have a few mods installed that's actually going to be helping us to build our map. One of those is the Yin Yang's water tool. This is going to help for placing down all the water we need on the map much easier than it is using the water tools in the map editor itself. Over here on the right hand side, next to toggle first person mode, I have another mod that I have installed right here. This is the map texture replacer. With this, I can actually change the way the map looks. So right now this is default. If I wanted to change this into a desert map theme, I just hit that and voila, we have the desert map theme that I have. I've also downloaded the Mediterranean theme and the Home of Chameleon theme, which I think that's the one I'm going to go with for my map. I like the way that this theme makes the cliffs and mountainsides look. I think that fits perfectly into the theme I'm going for. I can also mix and match things as well. So if I want to use, say, the cliff textures here, but I don't like this grass, I can just go up here and change that grass over to, say, Mediterranean. This actually doesn't look horrible right here, but I don't know if it's what we want or not. Let's try changing that over to default grass. Yeah, I think that's perfect right there. All right, let's go ahead and start filling some water in. That way this place will look more like a lake instead of a green Mars. Now, how I actually planned to add our water into our map has actually changed a little bit since I first started making this video, as I'm doing this in sections, because I've been playing around with it and I figured out that the Yin Yang water tools isn't going to work so well as I expected in the actual map editor. I'll go into more detail on that in just a moment, but it's not completely unusable, however, as there's still a couple things we can use it for. So before I add the water in, we first need to determine how high the water level is going to be. So for that, I am actually going to use the water tool mod. So what I want to do is use the third one over here, the one that kind of looks like a pond or a lake, and because we're obviously building a lake, this is the constant water source. It's the same as if we click up here under the water tab. You can see constant level water source. That's that one right there that we're going to be using. So I'll head back down here to the tool. And you can see I've already got it kind of set up here where I can kind of see exactly what we're doing. I've already got it about, looks like the elevation is 220 meters. The radius is 250. So the radius is the red circle that you see in there. I can also see, using the water tool, exactly where the water is going to be as far as level. So as you can see, if it's completely blue, that's about how high the water is going to get right there. And the great thing about this mod is that if I right click somewhere, it changes the actual elevation of the water right there. So you can see that just jumped up to 272. And that is pretty much like right by the cliffs right here. Is that where we want this? Let me take a look through here and see. That might be just a little too high. If we're coming over here and looking, yeah, that looks like that water level is just a little too high there for us. So let's try to get it just a little bit lower. Let's right click here. Let's try that. That's not terrible. Again, I think we might be just getting a little too high up on there. All right, so this is about 265.5 meters right here for our water level. Not terrible. I actually kind of dig this. This could be usable for that, but I think we could just lower it just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is right here where you see these bars next to elevation, if I tap on that or click on it right here, and we go down to the last bar down here, just the one, we can then lower it and raise it by 1. Well, about 1 anyway. So that's 264 right here. Let's go down to 263. You know what? I kind of like 263. I think this is good. This is a good water level, I think. So I'm going to go with 263 meters. So here's the thing. I could go ahead and use the water tool to just go ahead and plop one of these down here. And then we could hit play, and you can see the water starting to form in there. But here's the problem with that. As soon as I go up here and I click on the water tab, and then I go over here to water simulation speed, if I make a change here at all, say to 128 times, it completely deletes the mod tool where we place the water right there. So therefore, we're not going to be able to use the mod tools to actually place the water, but we can use it to determine exactly where our levels are going to be. Alright guys, I've let the game play for about 10 minutes now, and the water looks like it has filled in quite nicely. I did some comparisons of the map that we have here in game compared to the actual map of the area. Looks like right over here there should be some more water kind of going up this way, and for some odd reason our terrain map is just higher there than what it should be. So I might kind of edit that in, or may leave it as it is. Doesn't have to be a one-to-one exact copy. We do kind of have our natural dam kind of right here. It is an actual like man-made dam in reality, but it's not like your typical dam when you think of a dam or anything like what's in the game. So what I'm going to probably do here is just kind of maybe put some gravel or something along the side of it. We'll put a road going across through here. Over here, this is where the water is going to flow out down through here. What I'll probably end up doing is making these kind of small streams and rivers down through here. Make them look a little bit bigger. We may actually do like a small river kind of running up through here. So we're just going to expand out on some of that in a future episode. But for now, I think we have a great start here. So far, I've actually learned a few interesting things and new things I didn't know about the map editor, such as that I wasn't able to use the water tool here because it actually just deletes them when you go into the in-game water tool. But just playing around with the map editor and the tools that we have in it, I think I've made some real progress here. It's just a small bit of progress, but progress still. Most importantly, it has given me faith that I can actually do this and make my own map and have it actually be a fun map that you guys might enjoy as well. Before I end this episode though, there is one more thing that I probably need to show you guys. Since this is a multi-part video series, we're going to be in and out of the game quite a bit. So you might want to know how to save and load your map in between work sessions on it. Saving is actually really easy. We're just going to come over here to the map section up here on workspace. And then down here at the very bottom, you should see save map. So go ahead and click that. And then right here under file name, put in the name of the map that you want to call it, and then just hit save. Now, when you want to go back in and reload that map to work on it some more, all you gotta do is from the main menu, go back into our editor. From here, you go to map once again, go down here to load map, and then choose the map that you want to load. In my case, it's gonna be Cave Run, and we're just gonna load that right back up. And there we have it. I'm definitely going to be continuing in this series and progressing more and more on the map as we go with each episode. And I hope that you guys will also come along with me on this journey and maybe we can learn together. For those of you out there who are watching who have more experience than me at this, I would also welcome your tips and tricks, anything that you have that you want to provide to me. I'll be more than happy to read those. All right, that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope to have another one out pretty soon. I can't say when though, just depends on my time and when I can actually get to making it. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments down below, and also don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Any kind of interaction at all helps the video get further pushed by YouTube and their algorithm. If you're not already a subscriber here on the channel, but you want to keep up with this series, make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell so that whenever I post a video, you'll know. So wherever you are in the world, my friends, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I'll see you next time.